I'm Ed Parcaut. I'm here with Amy Tiemeyer, and we're helping the brave. How you doing, Amy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. As excellent as you can be, I
Very good.
guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weeks. It's 4th of July next week. So, trying to get everything in place so you can take a couple of days off. You know how that is.
I do. TMF is closed for the whole week, so that's super exciting for
Oh,
me.
do you get paid for it, though, the whole week?
Yes.
Oh, then that's even better. All right. All right, let's bring in our guest. I know he came on here from me. I was on his podcast. I told him he should sign up, be on our podcast, and he's here. So let's welcome Dean Van Dyke.
Welcome.
Howdy.
Hey, you're not related to any of the Van Dykes that used to be on TV, are you?
You wouldn't be talking to me right now if I was. I'd be in Hollywood.
Not necessarily. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
true. It's true. One of those days I'm going to play that card. Yep, he's my uncle. See where that goes.
Amy's still going, what are we talking about?
Gosh, I know who Dick Van Dyke is.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jerry. No, I'm kidding.
Did you want to start off, Amy?
Sure. We
Since
always
he's my
start,
guest. All right.
and we ask, why did you choose the service that you chose to go into? And for those who don't know, you went into the Navy.
I did, but I started in the Army.
Oh,
So I actually went in when I was 17, Army Guard, and did 3 years. Wait, 3 years? 2 years. And actually, just before the show, Ed was talking about a place where his son's being deployed. And so my story leads into that, actually. So when I went to the Army recruiter, they said, hey, we've got 3 great places for you to go: DMZ, DMZ, or DMZ. And I said, not no, but hell no. And went and talked to the Navy. They guaranteed my rank. And of course, they guaranteed a white sand beach as well, but that never happened. So did 6 years and never looked back. Loved it.
What was your MS?
When I first went in the Army, I was a 31 kilo, so I was a wire dog. Went into the Navy and I got to blow up some really cool stuff. One day I expended probably about $6.5 to $7 million worth of our taxpayer dollars, and put a Coast Guard cutter on the bottom of the ocean. So yeah,
You blew up things. That was your deal. Demolition.
that was my deal. I was fire control, and so I was basically I operated and maintained the weapon systems on board the ship. So
Okay. The reason I ask that is because not everybody is in the Navy. Not everybody who watches is going to know what you're talking about. So I try to explain it to everybody, just like if you had no idea what we were talking about.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and then I went back into the Army Guard. That was not a high point, I don't think, but it was. That was 14 years, and I loved every minute of it. So
See, the Navy stands for never again volunteer yourself. So why did you go back in the Army?
because I was going to do my 20, and but when I went back in, I think once you've been on active duty, once you've been, I think Desert Storm was rated a conflict or whatever, but um, you come back with a different attitude, and you don't tolerate as much. And I really struggled with the young men and women in college who said, never going. If we get ordered to deploy, we're not going. And I'm like, that's punishable by death, depending on what type of conflict that is, right? And they're like, don't care. And I could only put up with that for so long, and I was like, I was done, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So, and then they got deployed 6 months after I left. So
The ones that would never go.
there's actually a few that didn't. So,
Oh, really?
Yep.
Another question,
Yep.
Amy, before I keep going?
well, it's interesting because in the Air Force, they ask, in the Air Force Reserves, not the active duty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know someone who never deployed and spent like 20 years in the Air Force Reserves. And I just, that's just something I couldn't do either. And when my husband, because he was Marine Corps and then he went in the Air Force Reserves, we decided as a couple of his unit deploys, he deploys. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of part of the package in my mind.
Yep, great.
Oh, I just thought you
Yep.
meant you were going to get rid of him. If the unit deploys, you're gone. I'm staying home. But if I deploy, I don't go. You go, though. that how it works, Amy?
Sure. I will say it's easier deploying than being the spouse left at home, though.
Of course it is. Yeah.
I will admit, when my son got deployed to Afghanistan, it was tougher on me than it was on my bride. So that was tough.
Yeah. Well, I think it just is if your spouse, you're the one left holding everything, doing everything, while the other person's out. Not what we think is playing, not necessarily playing, but you're not have any responsibilities except for your job. And I think it's much harder on the spouses who stay back. So let's give our hats off to our spouses that stay back.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think being prior service, knowing what things mean, like when pay changes and it starts getting more, but nobody's telling you anything, they're telling you things. And, I just think,
is that deployment pay or something? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. But, I'm thrilled to support my spouse. And I think, I'm really glad that he's enjoying his service right now and growing and stuff like that. But it is because you're right. All the things with home and then also paying attention to what's happening in the world and what's going on.
He's home, right?
He's home right now.
Okay. The way you were sounding like he was gone again.
No, he'll most likely be training up before too long, but
okay. But this is about Dean, not us. So let's
get back it's all good.
My apologies.
Dean.
No.
All right. So you were in the Navy for 6 years. Looking back, was there any, or even in your whole career that you were in, would you do anything differently?
No, actually I wouldn't. I mean, I contemplated going after, officer while I was in the Navy. I, had the ratings to do it and was actually asked to do it. And I said, no. I said, I didn't have that desire. I loved what I was doing, working with who I was working with. And now when my son decided to join the military, I said, you're going in as an officer. And because it, let's face it.
Different world.
Yeah. It's a much different world. So,
yeah, when I had the same thing in the Navy, but I said I didn't want to be a service officer because there's no way I wanted to be on a ship, and gone, because that's where you go as a line officer, right? You have no other choices.
Yep, unless you're a JAG or medical or something special, a specialty, you're going to a ship, and that's where you're going to live your life.
So, how was your transition then?
From the Navy?
Well, from either, and just well,
because you went from the Navy directly into reserves, or did you?
Almost. I think I was like a 90-day transition because the minute I got out. So when I left, I was supposed to get out in May of '95. I got out in February because they were deploying again to the Persian Gulf, and it was interesting. I got out February '95, got back to my home state. And I think it was about a week later, I got a letter in the mail from the Reserve Command. Hey, would you entertain a signing bonus? And I'm like, no, not on your life. And so the transition was and we had TAP back then, but the transition, they don't really prepare you to leave a family, because that's what you're doing, and go out into the world. And I'll admit, I felt lost for probably the first few weeks and not really knowing what I was going to do. And, and I left for, personal reasons. My dad was pretty sick, and so mom and dad needed some help. And so we helped them. So I had some direction there, but the TAP program, in which I think I'm still hearing that the TAP program is not the greatest. So I struggled.
I think we all, when you get someone telling you pretty much what to do all day long, you know exactly what you're doing, and you get out and you don't have that same purpose. You got to find that purpose when you get out. And I think they need to help us find that better as we're getting out. But for me, I already had my bachelor's. I was working on my master's. I knew I wanted out. I knew I wanted into something totally different. So I'm a unique individual. So when I went through that thing, I'm like, just let me sign because I already know what I'm doing. So
yeah, I didn't know what I was. Well, I knew I was going back to college. I just didn't know when. So, but it was a struggle.
So did you go back to college?
I did. I went back, completed it. It's amazing what happens when you attend class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much.
I could have went in
experience.
as an E4 if I would have attended class. Anyway, move on. Next story.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, I went back and loved it. And in fact, my bride and I went same time. That's interesting, trying to raise a family and both of you are full-time college students, but we did it. So
now did it while you were in the reserves, right?
I did.
Okay.
Yep. I did that. And then I was with well, at that time it was a pretty good sized computer company. I did tech support on the phone to support the family when I wasn't in school. And so it's fun.
And see, I got lucky when I worked in physical therapy. We could do our homework at the desk while we were in between patients. So that's what I did all day. That's everybody in our department was going to school except for the department heads that were the physical therapists. So,
yeah, we didn't have online learning and podcasts. I know it's hard to believe. I don't think we didn't even have iPhone then.
We didn't have an internet either then.
Nope,
it was just coming.
It was just coming. Yep.
Yeah. Al Gore hadn't created it yet.
Very true. Very true. I'm so grateful he did, though.
Yeah. Well, look at us today. Yeah. I mean, my biggest problem is like the service providers, this off subject, is your downloads are so huge, but you only get this little upload. And it's like, we're doing video now. We need like the same symmetrical on both sides. And I've been fighting with multiple companies. So I have a totally new change coming in on the July 18th. So so it's been huge for me because it's nothing's worse than trying to talk and you're garbling or you're
right.
Anyway,
or you're frozen.
Yes, that too. It's nothing worse than that. Yeah. Amy, other questions for him before I ask another one?
You can ask.
I'm just trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair. You don't have much to ask him. You were in reserves. I was never in reserves. I remembered exactly what Navy stood for the moment I was done. And I said, because everybody keeps asking. My wife at the time was like, "You're gonna go in the reserves?" I'm like, "No, they can call me back up and I could go to war." I'm like, "There's no way." No, there's no way. And then she got remarried, and her husband went in the reserves, and guess where he went? Yeah, he was deployed. So, yeah, I'm just saying it was like, just because you're in there, when they're scaling the services down and wanting everybody to go in reserves, there's a reason for that. That's where they're going to pull forward to go to war. If we go to war, that's where
the Army made back then the Army made a decision. We're going to put more of our combat units in the reserve and guard. And that's what they did. They stood up more combatant units such as, fires, artillery, MLRS, multiple launch rocket systems. And that's where they pulled from when the stuff hit the fan with the Desert Shield and Storm. That's where they pulled from because they had made that transition.
It was smart. They don't have to pay them full time.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. It's like having VAs, but for military.
I'm not quite sure I'd go there, but maybe.
I'm just saying you pay them a little bit as you go, and then when you really need them, you pull them in.
Yeah, and the problem is they're not as trained up as active duty.
Of course they're not.
That's the biggest challenge.
Well, the biggest challenge today is to get good people in, period.
No, they're not hitting their recruiting goals. So, and they're coming up with some pretty crazy ideas to get people in.
Yes, they are.
All right. So what are you doing now?
Anything
Good
it takes.
transition. Good transition there, Amy.
Hey, I love this back and forth. I was about to ask Amy a question, but I'll wait.
No, go ahead. Ask her a question.
So you were in did you say Air Force Reserve?
No,
I
her
was
husband.
active duty Army, and then I went in the Navy Reserves, actually.
Gotcha.
And so I was a steel worker in the with Seabees attached to a Marine Corps unit here at JBLM.
Okay. Seabees. So you must have spent some time in Biloxi.
Not a lot. So I wasn't So my group, the Navy allowed me to test out. So I never went to school for sheet metal work. I grew up, my dad did uh, uh, sheet metal, architectural
HVAC.
sheet metal, HVAC, different things like that. And so I just took the final exams. So he can never say I didn't listen to him. And I had worked for his company from 11 to 17 till I joined the military.
Okay.
And so I couldn't do anything with that in the civilian world because I didn't have certifications or anything. And the guys that I worked with, everybody double checks and triple checks, but my stuff was pretty good.
Nice. The only reason I ask is I was stationed in Pascagoula of all places. So beautiful little city. So what am I doing
no
now?
idea where
that
that
the
is.
question?
Yeah,
What?
I have no idea where
You
that
don't know where
was.
Pascagoula is?
No.
So a little geography lesson. We'll
Hey, at least I know North
digress.
and South Korea. So
True. I'll give you that one. But so Pascagoula, so it's Mississippi. It's southern Mississippi.
okay,
It used to be.
I can tell you I've
maybe-
never been to Mississippi, so that's why I don't know where that's at.
Oh well, I was stationed there for 3 years. I could tell you stories. But in fact, I think the casinos are on par with Vegas. Not as many, but they have floating casinos there because during Katrina they all ended up over across Highway 90, and so it was interesting. But so what am I doing now? I think that was the original question.
That was the original question before.
So I'll get back to that here. So really anything it takes, but no, I have a coaching and consulting business, and what I do is I help business owners from a time, team, and money perspective, and primarily working with them to give them their time back so that they can go enjoy life and not do the 60, 70, 80 hour week grinds that they think is normal.
Here's my question. How did you get from what you did in the Navy and in the reserves and going to school to get to where you are now to what you're doing?
Yeah, so that was a journey. I spent early on while I was still in the Guard, I had an opportunity to own and operate a small service station in a very small country town. Took it, did it, couldn't find any help, similar to problems we have today. And I told the owner, I said, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore because it was a grind. I mean, I was doing the grind. It was crazy, hour up and back. And so I went on active duty, did that, came back, went to college, got into the corporate world, got recruited out to Microsoft and did some stints there, and then left there, went and turned around a small business. And as I was turning that small business around, I thought to myself, there's got to be other businesses out there that are struggling. And sure enough, did the research. I'm sure the stats, 50% fail within the first 5 years, 90% fail within the next 10. And I, turned that business around. I ran many other large teams and P&Ls in corporate. And that's how I got here today.
So I don't want to dish your numbers of 50% and all that, but that is put out by a government institution that gets paid to help companies, and they need to have their numbers show that in order to get funding. Because if they had any other numbers, so I take it with a grain of salt, because when I was in school and we knocked down the numbers and we were like, wow, it's not as much as they say, but this is why they say it. Sure. But when you're at Microsoft, did you learn stuff about how to help businesses with what you did there?
Yeah. So while I was there, and even before that, I had side gigs, or what do they call them now? Side hustles. So I would have a side
5 to 9.
Yeah, the 5 to 9. Well, actually, I thought they said it was supposed to be like 9 to 2 in the morning, which no thanks. But and so I understood, how to start a small business, how to, run it, and focusing on cash flow and P&Ls. When I was at Microsoft, I ran a outsourcing business for them, basically business process outsourcing. So I knew numbers. I got my degree in accounting. Never worked a day in the life of an accountant, because I saw their life and I'm like, oh, not no, but hell no. I'm sorry, I don't know if I could do that.
It's too late now. We just never been shadow banned. That's it. We're
probably
done.
Well, I got shadow banned because of you being on my podcast, so maybe it's turned about. No, I'm kidding. But no, I did.
I didn't
mean,
cuss on your podcast, so let's get that right.
maybe not.
Yeah.
So, and then when I turned around that business, I was brought in. The business was struggling. No cash flow. Sales were abysmal, and it was really related to process and or lack thereof. And so, having a Lean Six Sigma quality background, processes are the lifeblood of a business, and by implementing some very key processes, you can turn a business around pretty quickly as long as the people are willing to come with you. I mean, that's where a lot of times people forget about the team that needs to come along with you when you're making those changes. So that's how I got to where I am today, and I've built a pretty good business, and it's supporting my family, which is good. And I love doing it because I love working with people.
You're probably more in need now than ever before because of how much with what the economy is doing, right?
Well, and that's where, so with clients and potential prospects that I'm talking to, a lot of them want to pull back. And my advice is, hey, be bold. Now is the time to go either, be bold, be aggressive with what you're doing. Don't pull back because there is enough wealth out there for everybody. And I think that's where, you hear the problem is, with the news, right? All the tech companies are laying off. Well, the tech companies are only laying people off to satisfy the shareholders. That's all they're doing. And with small businesses who make up 98% of the economy, they're out there struggling, trying to find good people. And that's where a lot of them need the most help, is trying to find those good people. And that's where, I always tell a small business owner, you should have 4 pillars supporting your organization: a business coach, an attorney. Hopefully you don't need the attorney too much, the CPA, and your investment advisor, your financial advisor. And that's who you should have in your court. I can't think of a football team, baseball team, soccer team, race team that has not had good coaches behind them.
Where are you located?
I'm up in Issaquah, Washington.
Okay, you're in Washington.
Interesting.
All this time you had talking to him before I got on, you didn't know that? Jeez.
I did not know where you were, because I'm in Tacoma, Washington.
I know where you are. I saw your footer in your email.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like I said, my son's in Yelm. You guys all know
He
that.
came from
clearly.
Alaska. So yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is, have you noticed that to help companies find good people, have you reached through the veterans getting out? Have you seen if that was a good place, or how can veterans, as they're getting out and they want to utilize services to get into companies who need good people?
So, as veterans are getting out, they have, there's quite a few that are looking to start their own business, or as, there's one of my clients, it was interesting. I was on a phone call with them last week, and I said, hey, have you thought about hiring a veteran? And they're like, oh, where do I do that at? I'm like, oh, well, let me send you a plethora of resources to find quality veterans to hire. And I think one of the challenges with hiring a veteran, though, is making that, as we were talking about before, you said, well, what's your MOS? Well, who knows what an MOS is? But when you're creating that resume, I've seen resumes come out of folks that are just leaving, and there's too much of our jargon in there. And so I think there's still somewhat of that, okay, I got to decipher what I did and put it into, quote, civilian terms. So
I also think, so for state jobs or different jobs, they want the resume so specific for that job that it makes it hard to have a resume that is a little more open to other types of businesses, or you're end up having 4 or 5 different resumes, one for a state job, one for,
and when you haven't had to do that for, what's the minimum enlistment now? 4 years, 3 years? Let's face it, in the TAP program, they don't teach you how to write a resume.
That's ChatGPT will do it for you.
Yeah, you sound like a robot, but yeah, sure.
No, you take what you have and you tell it to change it into, changes to the, it's whatever you ask it to do. Now you got to be careful because there's a couple of attorneys who got into trouble because they were quoting cases that aren't there because they got their information from Chat GPT and it made up court cases. I'm not kidding. This is huge. It's been two times now. So the studio I work for when iHeart Media, they sent out a thing to all their people that are on radio going, do not use Chat GPT to do your stuff. You're banned from it. Yeah, because you have no control over what it says, right?
True.
But I use it just to come up with title, make this title better. I take my information from the shows and I drop it in there. I said, this is my format. Now replace the current one with the new guest, and it just replaces everything and it's perfect. If you use it that way, it just saves you time.
Sure.
But you have to be careful creating stuff from it because it will grab stuff from all over. So
agreed.
And then now we found out it makes it up too. Yay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I make stuff up. No, I'm playing.
I believe it.
Well,
no. So what I was talking about
make it up that she couldn't hear me earlier. So yes, she does make stuff up.
Oh, of course, because she has her volume turned down and the mute on. So of course, yeah, they don't have Chat GPT for that, Amy. Sorry. All right, so back to the, you were saying that their veterans have no idea what they do and how to make it into to civilian words.
Yep.
But my statement was, is there a lot of companies out there where veterans can go to get to companies who want them, right? Because you just told these people, have you pulled up veterans, and then you must have sent them some information.
Yeah, so the state of Washington, they have a I don't remember the exact website, but they've got programs to hire veterans. I know JBLM has programs to hire veterans. In fact, a former colleague at Microsoft had, it had 6 in the title. He was down there in Lake, I think the USO bought them. Gosh, what was RJ Noggle? And I can't remember the name, but they literally would bring soldiers in that were transitioning out and help them do the work that they needed and find jobs. And so there are people that are at these looking. Amy's got some wheels turning there.
You can see that, huh? I can see the smoke coming out of her ears.
Yes, Rally Point 6. That's exactly what it was. Yep. And so, but there's folks like that will help them do that that will help them transition better. And so, plus, I don't know if it's still available, but I believe there's still tax credits available for hiring veterans. Like when I went in to turn around that company, I know they got a pretty healthy tax credit for me coming on board. And so it was, but no, there's, right now in Washington State, I'm a member of an organization called Northwest Auto Care Association. And they're, if you're a mechanic in the military, you could slide right into hundreds of jobs here in Washington State because they need people.
Well, I was amazed when I was up there. I went to Lowe's. I'm like, I can park right here. What? Veteran parking? We don't have that stuff in California.
Oh,
we don't care.
Home Depot took their parking away up here.
Oh, did they?
Out loud? Yeah.
That's because they got mad you're going to Lowe's.
Probably.
Yeah. They all, but finally they all have discounts. They all have this, but that's not what we want. We want support other ways. So
agreed. The discounts are nice, but I'd rather have support in other ways.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, what did you give up once you got out of the military? I gave up $1,300, $1,400.
You gave up $1,300, $1,400?
That time on time. How you say time, and not just 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. I actually gave up the time because I was in the medical field, so they use that in the medical field. But I got out of that too. So
I didn't give that up. I still operate on a 24-hour clock. My bride hates it, but I love it because she's got to do the math. What did I give up? So really, I talked about it earlier. It's the family. I mean, you give up the camaraderie. You give up the. And then when
I was saying, what were you happy to get rid of? Is basically.
Oh, what was that? Okay.
Right. That's what I mean. I was happy to get rid of that time clock.
I'll tell you what I was happy to get rid of. I was happy to get rid of the bell-bottom pants. Now they're wearing fatigues.
Yeah, that was the dumbest thing to have us in dungarees in the Navy.
hated those things. And I was so happy to give those up, but they still have them for the dress uniform, which, I mean,
You'll never get rid of those dress uniforms.
the Cracker Jacks will be around for life.
Yep. But at least have, yeah, that was great that they actually changed, but then they just changed them again, different color, right? Because they were blue cami, and now they're just straight blue or something. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, they went to the straight navy blue, I think.
Yeah. All right. Amy, have anything else?
Was there anything that you learned in the military that you still use today, other than 24-hour clock? Since you
other than 24, yeah. So it was just it's really the discipline and the never give up. And I mean, I'd never been exposed to firefighting until I joined the Navy, and that was an eye opener. And I actually had to use it, and it was, and I'm so grateful to have learned the ABCs of firefighting and the fire triangle, because it saved me from burning down our townhome. So, yeah.
My problem is I close all the doors in my business and stuff when I leave. Everybody asks me why you do that. It's like, well, if a fire started, it'll slow down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
there's some quirks. Yeah. I've got to have certain things just right. But
let me guess, you have to see the front door of every business when you sit down.
Maybe. Yeah. I've got to know every exit. I've got to, yeah. There's a few little quirks I have.
That's not a quirk. That's just knowing your surroundings and what you're around.
Yeah, situational awareness, I think they call it.
Yep. I was trying to civilianize it. Sorry. Yeah. So what are you needing right now?
Right now, I'm still on the hunt for business owners that are looking to build a world-class company. I mean, I've got some pretty amazing software that I think would transform any business. In fact, I know it would transform any business that decided to come on board and use it and work with me.
Where'd this software come from? What does it do?
So what it does is it really focuses on the business owner. It's called catapult.ai. And a lot of times with software or just methodologies is the business owner it's all about the business. And when in fact, we all know that if you as a business owner aren't healthy in most aspects of your life, it will impact the business eventually, if not already. And so what this does is it helps you to really focus on, we call it the you driver. And if you're focused on you and driving to your 3-year personal outcomes, your business is going to be a world-class business.
All right. Dean, how do people find you if they want to get in contact with you?
DeanVanDyke.com.
He must have learned. Are you Dean Van Dyke everywhere? Instagram, you do
well, your
LinkedIn.
Bit of advice, Jed. I haven't fixed Dean Van Dyke. Yes, LinkedIn. But I've got to fix the other places. So thank you, Ed, for that tidbit.
I got that from Steve Sims and Henry Sims. Well. That's where, because he's like, you should be everywhere. I still have Facebook. My original one is Edward. I can't get rid of it because it's been there for so long, and I have so many things. So I can't change it. I can't get rid of the word, WARD. So, but then I have a business page on there, Ed Parcaut. So there you go. All right, Dean, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to know Amy's very close.
Hey, I'm sure you guys will be doing something now.
I would and because, which we didn't talk about today, but your interest in preventing veteran suicide stuff. So I do think that.
I just wrapped up for Stop Soldier Suicide. Just wrapped up Ruck March 50 miler. Haven't done that in I don't know how long, ages. And
are they only? So a lot of this stuff is only up there. It seems like.
No, Stop Soldier Suicide is nationwide. They actually have one of the. So I'm treasurer for a foundation, Veterans of Foreign Wars Foundation, and we did some research on organizations, and we found their programs to be the most effective. And so when we got connected with them, we donated to them, and then like the Ruck March, I was able to raise $1,500 over the course of May for them, and it's just it's a great organization. I mean, there's many other ones out there, Mission 22, Till Valhalla. So, but yeah, veteran suicide. I hope I'm one of the few people that have been impacted by suicide by 6 different times in my life. And it's, in fact, my brother-in-law just took his life in May. And somebody I would never have suspected.
Yeah, we've lost more people
Yeah.
from suicide than
Yeah.
all the wars, pretty much. You know what I mean? It's just really sad.
Yep.
And so the reason I'm asking when you said that, because I'm my president for Rotary this year, and I've been, and my big push is they asked me what's our theme this year, and it's like, it's us and veterans. And when the reason I say that is because the biggest problem with Rotary the last 3 years, it hasn't been fun. At COVID, you know, the whole thing's with that and get together and all this stuff. And so my big push is that's where it is. And so I'm doing that Challenge 22 in my group, in my Rotary, which is to reach out to 22 people a week, whether it's veterans or not. I don't care. I just want you to reach out to 22 people a week and connect with them. And if you have 22 veterans you can get a hold of, reach out to them each week and check them out. Make sure they're doing okay. And so I have a challenge coin I'm getting made right now. So I'm looking for an organization to donate to from our Rotary for my year. That's why I'm looking. So.
Wow.
So I'm asking. Yeah.
That's an awesome challenge.
Which one? The 22?
The 22?
Yeah. It's a great challenge because that's all people need. You know what I mean? Even if you can't make, my wife's like, you should make it a month. That's a lot of people. I'm like, that's like 3.5 people a day.
Yeah. Not hard.
That's not that big of a deal. And some of it should be your family, just so you know, just in case. Most people forget about their family. It should be your family too. You know, connect with all of them first, then go, because if you don't take care, like you just said with the business owners, it's the same thing with being a mom and dad. If you don't take care of mom and dad, you can't take care of your kids. So take care of mom and dad first, then the children. Same thing here. Reach out to your family first, then reach out to other people.
Talk to my brother every day via Snapchat. He's, I won't say how old he is. He's older than me though.
Okay. Yeah, just as long as you're connecting somehow is all I'm going to say. Yep. Yeah. Because I tell some people, just make a video. You can make a video and say, hey, I'm just checking out who you are. You don't have to put their name in it. And then that way you can send it to everybody. I think
that is true.
Yeah. And you can be done in seconds. Just that. I mean, I remember my daughter reached out to one of her friends and it stopped him from committing suicide. She had no idea till later. Right. He just. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is we don't know the people we impact, right? Just by the smile, the hey, how you doing, or you know, how are you, and
like,
don't ask.
See my shirt?
Oh wow, I love that shirt.
Yeah, so that's on my coin also because Valhalla doesn't own it, even though they have it on their shirt. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? What people don't realize is you can't trademark t-shirt wears unless you have a logo in it. So.
Right. A trademark logo.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. Well, so that's my thing and my big challenge. So feel free to use that. And I will send you one of my coins. Ignore the part on the front about Rotary, but I'll send you the coin. All right. Well, no, it's just because it's about, so my Rotary this year, I said, making Rotary great again together. A lot of people think it's a Trump thing. It's not. I've been saying make it a great day forever. Great's the best thing. I'm not an awesome person. I'm not, hey, have an awesome day. That's just not me. I have a great day is where I'm at. So that's what my coin's about. I want to work on us and helping vets. So
love it.
All right, Amy, you got anything? Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here.
All right. Thank you for your time today. It was very nice to meet you, and we will hopefully connect before too long.
Hopefully, you should be talking to each other right now before we go. We get connected before you get off of here. You're so close, you should be helping each other. Yeah,
that's true. Yep. We should.
All right, Dean, thank you so much for being here. Reach out to Dean at deanvandyke.com. And if you have any questions for us, reach out to us at info@helpingthebrave. We appreciate what you watching. If you want to support us, the easiest way is just go to our YouTube channel, Helping the Brave, and subscribe. And both of you, thank you so much for being here today.
Likewise.